I feel like I think I sent you another tweet that does have a highlight in it. It was from a Hexican who tweeted it, but there's a highlighted I know I sent you a ton of shit, but there's a highlighted portion of the document of the executive order that they're basically saying, would this not basically negate the lawsuit if this were true? If you are able to find it, if not, I
Yeah,
can.
I think it's this one.
Let me see. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. Geez, I can barely see that. Protecting and promoting. So part of the executive order says protecting and promoting the ability of individual citizens and private sector entities alike to access and use the lawful purposes open public blockchain networks without yeah, this is it. Because RH tweeted about this without persecution, including the ability to develop and deploy software, to participate in mining and validating, to transact with other persons without unlawful censorship, and to maintain self-custody of digital assets. I mean, yeah, that right there, is basically describing exactly what the SEC should be allowing to happen now. The curious thing about this is, and I know Nuclear Herbs has weighed on this a bit, is this we're grandfathered in like all these other lawsuits. So we already got the last corrupt administration's lawsuit in our hands, and we have a judge who's dutifully doing her job, like looking over the case that she heard about the motion to dismiss hearing and trying to render a judgment. But with all of these things happening, and I didn't mention this yet because there's just so much news, but we just found out tomorrow, Thursday the 30th at 2 p.m., the SEC has a closed door meeting, and they're going to be discussing. Oh, you got that. Look at that. You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, the closed door meeting tomorrow where the SEC will be discussing the resolution of litigation claims and other related topics. That sounds like a great phrase, resolution of litigation claims. So they're going to be talking about that. There's no way I can read whatever's in that red box right there. I don't know if you can from your screen.
Sure. It says the subject matter of the closed meeting will consist of the following topics: institution and settlement of injunctive actions, institution and settlement of administrative proceedings, resolution of litigation claims, and other matters relating to examinations and enforcement proceedings. So it sounds like the things that are happening now are going to be addressed tomorrow. 2 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday. It is an online thing. Meeting is closed to the public. Yeah, so it sounds like they're going to be talking about what resolution, if any, litigation claims, which I believe there is a claim for some litigation in ours. Yeah, so hopefully this goes well, and we hear something, and maybe that's why so many people are voting by the end of the week.
It could be. I would, just knowing how these things go and how much we've experienced ourselves already, I can't imagine we're going to get any kind of good or big concrete piece of news out of this, at least for a few days. You know what I mean? I mean, it's great this is happening tomorrow, but that late in the afternoon, next day's Friday, nobody's doing anything that day, probably. I mean, I don't know. I figured that it's probably going to into next week. Maybe we'll hear whatever this is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll get something right away. But the fact that discussion is taking place, I mean, you can tell that this is just a lot of stuff dropping in a lot of people's laps very fast. Like we knew that Trump was going to enact better crypto policy for this country, and it's happening at breakneck speed. So all these things, these dominoes just have to fall into place. So that kind of goes back to the thing, like, could Judge Carroll just be waiting for some of this stuff to happen? Because is it pointless for her to put out some kind of ruling, especially if the ruling, and whether or not anybody wants to hear this, it is likely that this was the most probable ruling, is that not the whole thing is dismissed. Maybe just part of it is, and the rest of it was moving forward. I am certain, as well as Richard, obviously, Richard's attorneys, don't really want to spend 2025 and more court dates with this. The new SEC, but if you're looking at Hester Pierce's tweets and stuff, I don't think she thinks they should be doing that either. So if you're Judge Carroll, why would you want to render a ruling that may very well be that they're, in 90 days is the next court date to, do whatever this time?
Yeah.
When it could just fall away,
Exactly. And why take the time to write up it? They are very considerate and thoughtful, and when they write their response to the court, sometimes 20, 30 pages of
Mhm.
information and findings and case law. And yeah, why spend the time doing that when she's probably well aware of all of this stuff that's going on. I think probably waiting for some clarification. If we're going to
Mhm.
decide what's what, let's do it so I can make my decisions moving forward and either clear my books or you know continue a case. But
Yeah.
we need some sort of clarification before we continue these cases, because otherwise it gets appealed in 6 or 8 months because things get changed, and then you're back in the same spot, right?
Mhm.
Let's not waste taxpayer money here. Let's figure out what we're doing first, and then we can make some rulings and decisions.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Definitely an unenviable position, maybe for Carol to be in. I'm sure, but yeah, it's an interesting time. But yeah, if it were me and I had the ability, I would rather just wait for like, all right, what are you guys doing now? What's the plan? Are you even interested in this lawsuit anymore? Because I don't want to hand out anything.
Yeah.
But what I'm sure she's also considering for both parties' accounts, probably honestly, she's probably even thinking more so of RH's side in this, is like there's a guy out there paying millions of dollars for these attorneys, and these people are working. The
Yeah.
SEC, I mean, they're the SEC, they're the organization. So you don't want to keep parties just hanging forever. And that's why, even though the 60 to 90 days by Herbs was never any kind, like that's not a definitive window or deadline or anything. That is generally how long it takes. And
Right.
she probably doesn't want to let it go too far beyond that.
Yeah, that would be my guess too. And you're right. You don't want, I mean, you've got retainers already. I'm sure they're only billing for active hours.
Right.
I'm sure this is not the only case they're working on. We know they're supporting Trump administration. We know they're involved with some other things as well.
Elon too.
So
Yeah.
yeah, with the Elon as well. So this isn't the only case they're working on, and you do get billed for billable hours. How much of that is happening right now? Probably not a whole lot. They're doing the waiting game, but I'm sure they're also doing research on a lot of this stuff too, seeing what's happened, seeing what's coming out, so that they can use it in their favor if there is a case that continues.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Very, very interesting. Just it's at least we're getting this entertainment. If prices aren't going up yet, at least we're getting some, good fundamental stuff happening on the crypto front here in the U.S.